You're listening to episode 11 of the Underhook Show. My name is Steve, as always, alongside with my co-host Chris. Chris, it is the Wednesday night ahead of an AEW pay-per-view. How are you feeling?
I'm pretty good, my friend. I'm happy to be alive.
Same here. Before we get into the show, I just need to do some quick housekeeping, if you don't mind.
Or go right ahead, my brother.
This whole time I thought Supercard of Honor was this weekend, and it's not till July. So, my bad. No Supercard this weekend, and it turns out this was not to my knowledge, this wasn't to anyone's knowledge, this was not a mistake, but rather a correction, that Dean will be taped and will not be airing live. I think that's due to the fact that it's outside.
That makes sense.
They might have better luck for the one in September at the ECW arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just got Double or Nothing this weekend, and I believe the DPW show from last week will air this weekend as well. So if you need your indie fix, that should be up as well. That being said, we have the May 21st edition of AEW Dynamite from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and this being the go-home show for the Double or Nothing show. Before we hit record here, we had some, didn't necessarily butt heads, but I think we had some differing opinions on it. You weren't too impressed this week.
No, not much to write home about, to be honest. For a go-home show, it did rely heavy on at least the Elite versus Death, not the Elite, the Death Riders versus AEW stuff. So I guess I did like that. It was very promo heavy, building it to the show.
Yeah, very segment heavy for sure.
Yeah.
I would say though, while I don't think this was by any means the greatest episode of Dynamite, I think this was a pretty breezy watch, especially that first hour.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst episode I've seen. I'll give it that. Maybe it's just because it was very promo heavy, and I was just kind of like not really paying attention during the promos as I should have.
I think some of them maybe got a little bit too much time.
There's one in particular that had started the show.
Yeah, that one did go too long. Which we will go through everything chronologically, as we always do on this show. But I will say, too, I can't remember a Dynamite where they've done so many segments in ring.
Yeah, I thought that, too. I actually wrote that down in my notes. I put it, one of my last notes at the end was, this was a very segment-heavy show, a lot to do in ring.
There were pre-tapes, but I mean, I think stuff...
We use Shivani for these in-rings, by the way. Right.
Yeah, he came out at the very beginning, and then
that was it.
The rest was delegated by like Renee and I guess MVP for the top of the hour segment. We can get right into it here, opening with a final exchange of words between Hangman and Ospreay, and my brother echoed your sentiments because he was like, "Holy shit, they've already gone 15 minutes. What are we doing here?" I liked a lot of this. I think that when you have two baby faces, you need to kind of create that ambiguity a little bit. And I think, they're always talking about, when you're making it personal, but it is personal to both of these guys. I think they both needed to stake their cases and get you to not only to buy in with your own investment, but what I think they did the right way was to make this tournament final feel like the most important tournament final that they've had for this Owen over the last, 3 years now?
Yeah, and they did exactly what we wanted them to do. They made it the main event. So...
Yeah, I said, from like maybe the first episode of this podcast, like Ospreay Hangman is for AEW as a promotion for AEW's core audience that can absolutely main event a show. And they're going for it.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for the match. I feel like it's Ospreay's to win, given like how they've been telegraphing the Swerve and Hangman eventually teaming stuff. But I think that they are going to go nuts, and they'll make you think it could go either way. This
match is gonna fuck, and it just sucks. It's gonna be on at like 11:30 at night.
Yeah, we'll look at the card before we sign off. I don't think they've. Granted, we still got Collision tomorrow. We always know AEW. AEW will book shit Saturday morning sometimes, Sunday morning of a pay-per-view.
They'll book it like an hour before the show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so who knows?
There's a match they teased that they during this episode we'll get into later.
Definitely this was too long, I would say, for what it was, but
And there was like at parts where I feel like they were just like Ospreay kept bumbling over his words. Hangman probably did too, but you don't need to have this long promo with two guys that the crowd automatically loves, you know? Like, but like
yeah,
you
I
said,
think
you had to create that like tension that, you had to create something there with two baby faces.
mhm.
I'm stoked, man. I'm pumped for this match. For real. I'm pumped for the pay-per-view in all honesty. I love just a good pay-per-view.
Yeah, Double or Nothing's, it's one of their big shows. There's not like a clear hierarchy in AEW with their pay-per-view schedules. It's usually now with All In being part of the
I'm a little,
calendar.
Speaking of one of their pay-per-views, they announced where one of them was going to be.
Yeah, for the first time, we're not getting All Out.
And Tony Khan lied right to our face.
Did he?
Because he said All Out's always going to be in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I get why. I figured when they set the example with Double or Nothing not being in Vegas anymore, that anything was on the table.
Yeah.
I am a little disappointed because, it's when it becomes a tradition with, me and my brother driving up for the show and then like seeing you and other friends there. Like it is like a very comforting, and it's almost like something to look forward to and even something to fall back on like when things aren't going great. However,
that whole holiday weekend usually too, because they'll do like indie shows too, and
yeah, because I'm thinking at some point like we're gonna get the whole like pay-per-view. We haven't gotten a Ring of Honor show since it's come back, like under TK, which I think's been very strange. I don't know if they just don't think they have the right size building for it. So maybe if Aragon's a normal spot now, maybe that'll be it. But I'm thinking like Chicago has not gotten the whole rollout of like Ring of Honor. You could definitely do like a indie super show like Dean here. Like people would show out for it. And then the pay-per-view, I'm almost thinking that they might just do Full Gear weekend here.
Yeah, you were bringing it up last week. So
yeah, because they do the Thanksgiving Dynamite anyways. Like, why travel?
Right. And if you're trying to cut costs, I mean, that actually makes more sense to do it that way. You're already going to be here that week.
Yeah, and I think with where they're at, to where they're not swinging for the giant buildings anymore, at least at this stage, you could do a pay-per-view at Wintrust and sell it out.
Absolutely.
So we'll keep an eye on that one. Toronto's always a hot crowd. Did they say where it's at yet? Is it at the big building? Let me look.
Yeah, they probably did. I just seen the little the under third or whatever the thing's called. That says All Out in Canada. So I said,
yeah, they're doing Scotiabank where the
Raptors play.
That's where the Raptors and the Maple Leafs play. That's like their premier indoor venue.
I feel like they can get a good crowd in there for Canada.
Yeah, especially if that's like their only, because they didn't do like any of the Owen stuff in Canada this year.
And then speaking of venues, the venue they were at tonight was dope too. I liked it.
yeah, they did the abbreviated stage, if you will.
Yeah, I love this. I can't wait to see what the Aragon looks like. Like that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, and I didn't know this because I'll just hash this out on the air, but I was talking to my brother about it, and we thought maybe a Saturday show might make more sense for his work schedule, and it turns out they're doing 2 of the collisions on Thursday.
On Thursday?
So, yeah, so like I don't know what we're doing yet, but I'll be in touch about that.
Yeah, we'll hit one.
Yeah, I want to go to one. Anyways, I think we'll preview the whole card at the end of the show, so we'll come back to this match.
We'll double back to that.
Yes. The one detail from the promo itself that stood out to me, because this is very much a Hangman-oriented thing to do. When Ospreay brought in those beers and they got back to it at the end of the promo, Ospreay did not drink his. He did kind of the, where he kind of like just
the Stone Cold thing.
Stone Cold it, yeah. Hangman pounded his and drank the whole thing. So I don't know what that necessarily means. Yeah, hell yeah, brother. But I don't know what that means. But that feels like something. That feels like a very Hangman thing to do as far as symbolism. So I think for the Elite lore people, you might want to comb through that promo again if that is your thing. That went into our first match of the evening, one of our very few matches of the evening compared to weeks past. Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks taking on Swerve Strickland and the Ops. Now, I do want to question the nature of this match. I want you to entertain this question, but can I preface the question with something real quick?
Of course, let's go.
I'm not going to question why Moxley is teaming with the Bucks anymore. I understand it's something I've harped at, and I've just accepted it, and I'm over it. So that's not why I'm asking why this match happened. I'm asking why this match happened because the purpose of Anarchy in the Arena is that you cannot keep these two sides civil in a wrestling ring. So why are we doing a build-up tag?
That was my whole thing. Was you're meaning to tell me this is a blood feud, and I gotta imagine that these 6 people can't have to follow the rules?
Right. So
Like,
you're right. You're right where I am at with this.
Yeah, I was like, this ain't making no sense here. But I'm just gonna go with it. I'll just enjoy it. And
in a vacuum, I thought this was a good match.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Like, honestly, good setup for the pay-per-view match. I'm tired of them calling it an all-star match. Just say it's a 6-man. Gotta keep saying all-star.
Yeah, don't gotta be an all-star tag every week. It's the AW. It's the AW party match.
Yeah.
They're not gonna call it a party match for. I understand why. That's a very that's like an off-screen term.
Yeah, that's your IWC term there.
Yeah, that's your internet term. Sure, whatever verbiage you want to use. It's not something you're gonna be advertising it as. However, I thought this was a really fun match. I think that this is like the closest the Bucks have been since they've came back to where I'm like exactly what I want out of them. I think that they've balanced them doing their stuff, but while still being vulnerable enough to eat shit. They were getting all their stuff in, but then when Joe and Hobbs would come into the ring, they would stooge and bump like crazy. And I think that's exactly what where they need to be. So I was actually very happy with the Bucks coming out of this match. But I thought Samoa Joe was a lightning rod, and he was the best part of this match easily.
Oh, always is to me.
Yeah, dude, he's the best.
Should have won the championship, but here we are.
Yeah, maybe so. But well, let's stay on that for a moment, because I feel like whoever wins the Owen has to beat Moxley, but Darby did it.
Yeah, Darby, he did the impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out, first of all, for him doing that.
Yeah, and they say, unfortunately, that getting off the mountain is sometimes more dangerous than actually climbing it. But, yeah, for those, if you haven't seen, Darby Allin successfully scaled Mount Everest and planted the promotion's flag at the very top.
And now he's going to come down and win the belt.
Yeah. So.
But I have a theory, though. But yeah. How long does it take to get down? Do you know?
I have no idea.
He's not going to be at the pay-per-view, right?
I don't think it'll be a double or nothing.
Okay, never mind. I think theory out the window.
Yeah,
Carry on.
He might come back for All In, but
I'll double to that when we get there. But I have a theory though.
Yeah. Anything else in this match?
I have nothing complaints. It's a little 6-man. Sets up for what happens later on. But
yeah. The only other thing I had down was I loved how they cut off Joe before the dive, but then when he actually did it, it was
spectacular.
Yeah, and he went for it, man. He went awesome.
He went. I was like, oh, he's coming in hot.
Yeah, dude.
Because usually he'll pull back on that a little bit. Not that time.
No. He said, we got 3 people catching me. All right, bet.
I was like, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they got it. They'll catch me. No, good match though. Not too bad. Went 21 minutes, right?
Yeah, they gave it plenty of time. I feel like, especially when the Bucks are in these tags, they are getting a lot of time. But that's okay. I think when you zoom out a little bit, despite the nature of things, this whole first hour was dedicated to their 2 big matches on the pay-per-view. They want you to buy this show, which is not being carried by Triller this time in America.
Is it
which
on,
I thought was strange. YouTube or Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Amazon was the one last time.
Yeah, so hopefully this will be the last one before we're able to watch it on Max.
Yeah, let's hope.
Because that's apparently supposed to be a thing for the big stadium show.
HBO 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 Max, whatever the fuck.
Whatever's going on over there, yeah, that's the one. That's the place. But if I'm not mistaken, then we cut backstage to MJF and all the lawyer stuff.
My dog, Smart Mark Sterling.
Yeah,
Finally on TV. Let's go.
He hasn't been around for a while. I'm sure he's been just hanging out.
Yeah, he's been on Ring of Honor. He's been with premier athletes and stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I've been peeping. I like Smart Mark because I'm a big wrestling figure guy, so I listen to the pod. And
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure he's just been chilling on the major show.
He's getting his own wrestling figure soon too, so that's pretty dope.
I'm gonna have to tell my brother because he's a big fan of his as well. So they kind of tied it all together where they went backstage and then went to commercial. MJF now officially a member of the Hurt Syndicate. I thought that again, the timing of everything that hasn't really lined up with this whole build. I really thought that when they were building the suspense of everybody has to sign the contract, that Lashley was going to put MJF through that table. But that's probably not going to happen until one of these MJF run-ins is probably going to go wrong over the summer, and that'll give us the Lashley MJF match. But for now, he's in the faction. He was looking pretty ridiculous, all things considered. But I mean, for a heel that works,
he spent a lot of time. He looks like he just got drafted to an NBA team.
Yeah, for real. Out there, he needs the Samaki Walker fit next, but
he had the hat on. I was like, my man just got drafted to the team. Let's go.
Speaking of things taking too long, man, they really took their time ragging on the city of Albuquerque.
MVP especially. I think he's going into business for himself on that one because oh Lord, I don't know what I said. Okay, we're done. And then MJF started talking, and MVP started going again. I said, "Oh, we're not done. He hates Albuquerque, New Mexico."
Yeah. So, don't know how that plays into things, but that definitely happened. And then, but Dustin and Sammy got a lot of mic time too.
God, yeah. This also I wrote down. Jesus, what is this? I was like, did people get stuck in travel and we couldn't make it? Like, this is why we have to do all these promos? I don't understand what's going on here.
You know, obviously this is all speculation, but with how the show ended, maybe stuff had to be moved around.
Yeah, it seemed very offish at the end there.
Yes, so we'll elaborate on that in a bit. But overall, I'm just glad that we finally have gotten this out of the way, because this could have happened a month ago.
At all.
Or not happened at all. The net positive here is, though, that it's like, no more will they, won't they? And they're wrestling on pay-per-view in what hopefully will be a better showing than what they've been given, because Sammy Guevara, I could take or leave, quite honestly, but I want to see what Dustin can do as babyface in peril here, because he's still so great.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, if Sammy just bumps like crazy, like, that's all he needs to do. So I think they got something here, actually. Like, I'm open to the match itself, and again, I'll elaborate on it a little bit later. If I'm not mistaken, then we head to the back to Kazuchika Okada with Renee Paquette.
Yeah, I actually walked out of the room for this, but I came back and seen the gist of it. I caught the tail end of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a whatever promo, but it got us to where we assumed they were going, being that Speedball challenged Okada. I guess, or challenged him on Collision, rather, but Okada accepted. And that's set for Sunday. Kazuchika Okada defending against Speedball Mike Bailey. They will not be involved, at least directly involved, in Anarchy in the Arena. And cool match, I think.
I'm waiting, yeah.
On paper. Yeah,
I'm stoked to see it.
And I'll tell you what, between everybody who signed this year, I think they've done a really good job of showcasing and keeping in the mix. Speedball's no exception. Obviously, the only one that they can't do that with is Kevin Knight, because he's busy elsewhere, as we've stated on the show. But yeah, Speedball, I believe it's This would be his first singles match, if I'm not yeah, first singles match. He had the triple threat last time.
Pay-per-view?
Yes,
Yes.
on pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I
yes,
should
yes.
elaborate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
it was triple. Yeah, his first match was the triple threat, and now we got this banger match here. Yeah, I'm in.
yeah, so I'm cool with this too. It rounds out the card nicely. I think they struck, at least on paper, and obviously they probably will add stuff, but it seems a lot more balanced than and less hodgepodge than the Dynasty card. Then, if I'm not mistaken, get to a match that was announced shortly before the show, which, if you want to add that speculation of if something was off as far as timing, Ricochet versus Bowens, I did not know this was added to the show until I was actually watching the show.
Yeah, I did not know that either at all. I said, "Oh, Bowens. Oh, Ricochet. Oh, okay."
Yeah, fun match. I think that this is a natural pairing as far as Bowens has always been just like a really endearing, like fiery babyface. Putting him against the biggest shitbag in the company, that writes itself. Love the bit at the beginning of the match where Ricochet's like, "No, I can't wrestle yet. I gotta talk shit to Billy Gunn and mock his taunt from 30 years ago or 25 years ago." Yeah, it seems like a natural pairing. The timing seems kind of odd because I feel like this could have been its own television feud once the Briscoe match takes place.
Yeah.
That got announced when we were tracking last week, by the way.
The Briscoe Ricochet match?
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I said, I was like, we talked about this. They announced things randomly.
Yeah, so like we were doing this completely unaware of the fact.
So fun fact, you just broke that news to me. I didn't know that was actually announced because that was going to be my speculation that they were going to throw that match on the card. So never mind.
Yeah, it's Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet in a stretcher match. First time in company history of doing a stretcher match.
I wrote down in my notes, are they having a stretcher match, question mark? Because I didn't see, must have not been paying attention at that point where they announced it. Man, hey. Whew. Okay, I'm 0 for 2 right now.
Hey man, it's all good.
My other prediction still is not out the ballpark, but we'll get there.
For sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed the Ricochet Briscoe stuff, whether it's in tags or their singles match from a few weeks ago. I really liked as well. So I'm glad they're building on it. I'm glad that they're both getting featured because Mark Briscoe's still one of the best wrestlers in the world, and this Ricochet run, man, it's still going. It's
his best work that he's done lately. I can tell you that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I come on here and I talk about how surprised I've been of how well this is going, and I don't know if he's Teflon yet, but he's approaching it for sure. I think if he's in a position to where losses don't hurt him because of he just comes right back, you know what I mean? You're in a really good spot with him as a heel, but I do think that we got to start talking something more for him. I was
just thinking, why didn't they do like Adam Cole and him feud leading into the pay-per-view?
Because the belt's not on the pay-per-view.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, it never is. It hasn't been on TV, hasn't been on pay-per-view.
They just did the title switch, which we didn't like to begin with.
Yeah, it's just, and ever since then, has he defended that belt at all? I don't think so.
Let's take a look. Let's pull up the.
He might have once, actually.
Let's pull up the data I think about it, because I once again I got to do some collision catch up myself. Admittedly, I was good about that for a while. I've had a lot of shit going on.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah. Speaking of, he defended against Claudio on a whim.
Huh.
And right. I like that match. I remember watching that match.
I want to say that he wrestled. I think he defended it once.
That was his last match, and it was over a month ago. So I have no idea what's going on.
Hell yeah.
That was WrestleMania Collision, like that weekend.
Did he hurt again? Did he dive off the stage? And
I hope not, but
me either. But I mean, can we please get something?
Yeah, let me just confirm I'm going through the rain here. Yeah, he's had the belt for 46 days. That was his only defense. I don't know what they're doing, man. Because Kyle and Roddy have been wrestling every week. They're booked this week against Grizzly Young Veterans, which I actually should put that on because that sounds pretty sick.
Yeah, I'm definitely tuning into that one.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that. It just seems strange that how mishandled the TNT title scene has been, like historically even. But I think a really nice way to rehab that is to put it on Ricochet right now.
I would put it on Ricochet, and honestly, I mean, you won't because you're probably in a contract with that, but I would rename it. I would TV title. Do
Yeah,
something.
yeah, because if the idea is to only have it on Collision because Collision's on TNT,
that's not a good look.
yeah,
I mean,
you're
I
like,
get, cause I get it. You're both owned by Turner, but yeah,
I would even if you like Turner Network Championship. I don't know what you want to do with it, but
yeah, but it was a good idea in theory when you were still on TNT doing Dynamite. But now that you moved to TBS, it kind of, I don't know.
yeah, it definitely muddies the water, so to speak. I'm cool with the match though, in general, but yeah, across the board, it just feels like such a strange decision in hindsight of how poorly the Garcia run was booked, how almost ill-advised the title switch was, and then now they're not doing anything with it. Granted, I have not watched every single segment on Collision, so maybe there is an explanation for it that I need to do some hindsight on, but very strange, and it just seems like that would be such a perfect thing for him because Kenny isn't losing his title anytime soon, and they don't even treat that like a mid-card belt anymore. Like that main event shows, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a good chance that main event's the stadium with Okada, so we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, overall though, fun match. The angle with Mark coming out with the stretcher, that all worked for me, and I'm excited for the match on Sunday. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, like I said, I'm stoked for this whole. On paper, this card's awesome. So,
Speaking of, we cut to FTR in the back saying that there is going to be an official contract signing for a match that I am very excited for, which is FTR taking on the team of Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness.
let's fucking go.
Dude, it's like I said, any Nigel match at this point is a bonus for us. It's a gift for us, and this is just really awesome on paper. So, and Stokely's been really good in the build too.
I was about to say, we can't forget Big Stoke. My man called Daddy Magic bitch ass.
Did you see the match graphic for this, by the way?
No.
So it's just your standard fare, but they like put a little Stokely next to the cactus, which is just so fitting.
That's great. No, I didn't see that one.
Now we get into where things on the show get a little strange for me, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. So we get the in-ring sit-down between Mercedes and Jamie Hayter. And I actually thought Hayter was really good in this segment, but tell me if I'm wrong here. Does this not feel like this is out of order between all the assaults these two have exchanged?
Yeah, they've been beating beating the shit out of each other, going back and forth, and this just, I don't know. It seemed very out of place. It's not even out of place, period. First of all, they shouldn't have been sitting in a ring. This should have been a backstage segment. But, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's very weird. Very, I don't know. This the whole episode seemed like that though to me. So I can't really. I'm not going to be the first. I'm not going to be the best one to give you a fair judgment there. Because this whole episode just seemed very off timing. I feel like people were supposed to be. I don't know.
Yeah, because especially with what this went into right after. But overall, though, I thought Hayter came out of this looking very strong. That lariat at the end of the segment was wicked.
I didn't want her to hit it yet.
You want to always, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think save it for the match.
Yeah, man, because you would have had a bigger pop at the pay-per-view if you would have hit it.
Mm-hmm.
But It's cool, man. Here's what it is. Small, right?
Yeah, no, totally with you on that. I'm still very excited for the match. I don't know if this necessarily swayed me one way or the other, but I'm glad that they gave Hayter more here, and I think she's needed that. I think she, regardless of if she wins this match or not, I don't think losing to Mercedes in a tournament final is going to hurt anyone. But good for her. She needs something, and I think this really helped build her up for what they're trying to present these tournament finals as now, the magnitude of these big matches. Not only now do you get the title shot, but you get to do it at the big show, and everybody should be gunning for that. So this was fine for what it was, but again, I do agree with you. It just seemed out of place and maybe at the wrong time. But this immediately went into what was our main event, but just felt so strange as a main event. It was Mina Shirakawa versus Julia Hart with Timeless Tony Storm on commentary. And again, Mina just signed. They're going to be featuring her a lot. She's getting the world title match on Sunday, but this is not a TV main event for me. I have no issue with the women main eventing TV, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but this was just felt so strange for a TV main event.
This was a collision match, first of all.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's not any disrespect at all in any way, shape, or form. But when I looked at the time and I saw this match, I said, "This is the main event."
Yeah, no, my exact thoughts.
Like I said, it's nothing against Mina, nothing against Julia, but the way that AEW does their shows, this feels like a middle of the show match.
Correct.
So it just, my timing, my head was way off there.
When Tony was making her entrance, I pulled out my phone and I went through the AEW Twitter because I'm like, well, what else is booked?
Yeah.
Match was okay. I don't really have much to say on it. I think similar to the Hayter Lariat, I would have preferred Mina saving the Bret Hart figure for the match. Especially because like her whole thing in big matches is she's going to work the leg. But again, nitpick. I can't help, especially how they close the show. I can't help but feel that what you were saying, which something must have happened to move things around, because this did feel incredibly out of place as build a main event, but it really wasn't how we went off the air.
I don't know, it was just very off. And then they ran a match graphic about Anarchy in the Arena where it's going to be 6-on-6. I have an issue.
Yeah, there is a big issue.
One side has 7.
Let's roll it back. Let's roll it back to the post-match angle of the tag team match.
Forgot this happened, by the way.
They were building to something. There was the heels are getting the heat. The fans are waiting for somebody to run in. I really thought Eddie Kingston was coming back. Shibata is the one who came back, and unfortunately the crowd just didn't connect with the room. I'm happy Shibata's back, though, and I'm happy he's in the match, because this is very much like a fish out of water situation for him. But we could just talk about how they went off the air, which I didn't care for everything that happened in the actual ringside area, because I just thought
it was just all too much.
But Samoa Joe and the Bucks' comedic timing, where they're just like, Joe said he was going to get us, and they're winking and nodding to the camera. One of the few times I'll actually, first off, I always say the Bucks wink and nod, but they actually did it here.
Yeah.
So that almost worked for me better, because I feel like instead of being genuine heels, they're always like, we're laughing with them and not at them. Here, though, it was just full-on stooge, them talking their shit. Here comes Samoa Joe sprinting into frame with the trash can.
Running like,
oh my God.
Like a SmackDown versus Raw with a trash can. Just
so good.
NPCing through the curtain.
I love that bit, man. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, that part was awesome, but then when it got to the ring, it was just...
What on earth was this?
Yeah.
it's just, it felt like nobody knew what to do.
It was
They
like
started playing the Dynamite theme song for some reason.
I felt like it was a fever dream because I said I literally checked my phone. I was like, is my phone playing music? And I said, no, it's not. They're playing the music on the TV. And I said, what? Why are they playing the Dynamite theme song? What is going on here? Where did Gabe Kidd come from?
Yeah, so I'm almost thinking it will be 7-on-7, and somebody will.
And that's where my thought process was with Darby. But then I realized he's still climbing down a mountain. And he's probably gonna chill at the crib. He's probably. Well, I mean, so now that
If anybody's one crazy enough and also stupid enough,
it's him.
it is him.
But
So
now
I would
that
say
you
leave
said
it.
but now
Leave
that
it
you
on the table.
say Eddie Kingston, no.
I don't know what to believe because I did just. I think it was last month. I brought it up how I just recently listened to him on the Way of the Blade podcast. Which great podcast, by the way. Yeah, he was on there. They're doing a book on AW's bloodiest matches coming out soon. The guy Phil, who runs the show, asked Eddie Kingston, he's also involved in the book, where he was at with his physical condition. And Eddie just said he's not there yet and he's chilling at home. And I don't know whether to think if he's working us or if that's for real, because I do understand the severity of his injury. I don't understand it personally, but you know what I mean. It was pretty bad. That's what we know.
Yeah, what we hear, it's pretty bad. You know?
However, let me just entertain this idea that I think the timetable on average. I know Eddie's in his 40s and whatnot, and he's had all that mileage on him, and every individual case is different. I think the average timetable on that's 9 months, and it's been over a year.
Yeah, so but see, like I honestly didn't even think of Eddie Kingston until you said his name. Like, I knew he was yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be mad.
So I'm almost wondering if it's not going to be build a 6-on-6 and.
But I have another complaint.
Sure, go ahead.
They've never discussed why Gabe Kidd's there.
Apparently on Collision, there was a pre-tape. I did see this because it was Moxley cut a promo covered in blood, and that's like, when I see that, I got to see it. You know, I think he pretty much said that he's a hired gun or just working for Jon Moxley. And my headcanon on all of this, because there's a huge plot hole with the Bucks and all the Bullet Club stuff. I mean, we heard what we heard at Bloodsport. Gabe Kidd got an absolutely glowing endorsement from Josh Barnett.
Yeah.
That's how I've chosen to connect those dots. I still don't think it makes a ton of sense, but also, let me throw this out here. Who did Eddie wrestle in the match he got injured? It was Gabe Kidd.
Yeah.
Who does Eddie Kingston hate more than anybody in the world? Claudio Castagnoli. Who does Claudio post on social media about like-minded people? It was a picture of Claudio and Gabe Kidd. So obviously take anything on social media for a grain of salt. I don't know. That applies to just life in general. But I think that there's enough straws to at least reach at. I would word it like that.
Yeah. The Young Bucks just beat Gabe Kidd and his team, 3-4 days prior to him coming out and helping the... It just makes sense. But...
Nope.
But...
It feels like this whole arrangement of people is to just almost be, not necessarily a stopgap, not necessarily filler, but like there's all these existing feuds. We're putting all of our eggs really into this Owen basket, but we need to do something. We do this match at the show every year. Let's just throw all these names in the hat, you know.
And what was crazy was, like, at first the writing was all like, it was good. Like, you had the Death Riders, but Pac got hurt. That's kind of what set everything else, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because you probably could have still, but whatever. I'm not mad because I like Gabe Kidd. I just wish that it made a little bit more sense.
It's what, again, I don't want to harp on this any more than I already have. It's like the Bucks shouldn't be anywhere near the Death Riders. But then it turns into this whole thing of like, well, they have the issue with Kenny, and it's like it's like a trickle down match as far as why everybody is where they're at. I don't necessarily agree with that either. And I think you could have easily, like, for example, if this was for Blood and Guts and you were doing like a team AEW, you could easily had Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston in there. You know what I mean? Like brawlers who are beloved and always like put up for the company. You know what I mean? But this is what they decided to go with. I just thought this was. It's not that they weren't doing cool stuff, but it's like there was times where they had cameras on people just standing around.
The one shot I can remember in particular is Samoa Joe had a chair, and Claudio was just standing there waiting for him to get hit with the chair.
Or he was like leaning on the steel steps on like Hobbs' leg, and it was like clear that Claudio was just like catching his breath, and I'm like, yo, like nothing wrong with that.
Just turn the camera a different angle.
Yes. It's like wrestling at the end of the day is a lot of smoke and mirrors, and like that's always been the case. Especially at least in the context of TV wrestling. But yeah, don't put the camera like on the guy just clearly just taking a break. Like, come on. Very, very, very strange way to go off the air. I don't know why they gave that 2 segments. I almost think the tag match was supposed to go on last and they had to shuffle the deck. Now you got those wheels moving in my head, and now it really, obviously we'll never know, but if I had to take a guess, that would make the most sense to me. So overall, I don't think this was a bad episode by any means. The first hour especially, I thought flew by, and they hammered home the 2 big matches that they wanted to sell the pay-per-view. But I was more so of like, all right, we got this show out of the way. Let's get to the pay-per-view. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got to do this. Nah, we coast right into Sunday.
Yeah, which we can go through that card because I don't think we have anything else to... Do you want to talk about DPW Limit Break?
Which, I didn't watch...
Would you rather wait until we're all caught up?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Because I'm catching up tomorrow. Because I'm finally got a free day.
Sure, yeah. And then we can coordinate. Because I do believe that'll air this week. If they followed basically everything but the Japan shows because of travel, the weekend after they're taped, they go up. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I will read you. They had to completely shuffle the Dean card because of a couple of cards subject to change. Kind of hit them pretty badly. But there is some cool stuff nonetheless. So at time of recording, so the Mad Dog Connolly Adam Priest dog collar match is very much still on. I think that'll main event the show, quite frankly, which should be really good. They pulled the Beast Mortos out of the Cybernetico. He is now in a singles match against Slim J, which on paper that just, I don't know what the hell that's going to be like, but I want to see it.
There's one match I want to see too on there. Manders versus Rhino.
I believe that they didn't say anything if that was had any adjustments to it. So okay, yeah, that should still be on, which sounds very cool. Tom Lawler couldn't make the show anymore. So, no, he will be at the show. He cannot wrestle, so it'll be Josh Woods facing JD Drake of the Workhorsemen.
Hell yeah.
That sounds really cool. And then Gringo Loco and Arez are also pulled from the Cybernetico because they are now taking on the Coven of the Goat. So that should be a lot of fun too. Now the Cybernetico, I gotta check my pronunciation. Mm-hmm.
Coven of the Goat with Tank?
Yes, that Coven of the Goat.
That Tank. Like the old guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I got the card up here and I was like, Tank. And I was like, I know I've seen this guy somewhere before. But yeah.
Yeah, so I thought when they announced all these card changes, I thought CMLL wasn't going to be a part of the show anymore. That's because like I saw people getting pulled. I'm like, oh, the Cybernetico's off, and they're going to restructure.
Yeah.
That is not the case at all because there's 7 CMLL wrestlers in the Cybernetico. Oh, excuse me, 8 CMLL wrestlers in the Cybernetico. Dr. Cerebro and AEW's Hologram will be participating with Gelhua, Volador Jr., Averno, Neon, Valiente, Virus, Euphoria, and Blue Panther. So you have a really nice mix of high flyers, of like more mat-based Yave wrestlers, and your Rudo heel work. And I think that will be a ton of fun. Unfortunately, that won't be airing the night before Double or Nothing, but I'm sure it wouldn't be very long after. So I always just want to plug this show because I think it is a great opportunity for anyone to check out some wrestlers that they've maybe never seen before or maybe have only heard of. So keep your eyes peeled for
Three
that.
wrestlers in this Cybernetico match that are in their 20s. The rest of them are in their 50s and 60s, and that is insane to me.
I did not even clock that. That is amazing.
I wanted to, because I've never heard half these names in here, so I was like, let me click some of these. Yeah, it's crazy. But hey, I'm excited. I'm going to tune into this one. I don't think I've ever seen any Action Dean shows.
They've only done the one last year.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's why there's a 2 behind it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is just a very interesting group of wrestlers, and it's all in the name of, obviously it is a tribute show to the late Dean Rasmussen, but it's all just to harken back to those old message board days and of that era of independent wrestling. So it's a very celebratory show. So I'm assuming this one will be the same. I got no reason to believe otherwise. Before we get into the Double or Nothing preview, have you been watching anything else? Any WWE? Any Super Juniors?
No, this week was a very, very busy week for me. I didn't catch really much of anything.
I did not either.
Yeah, I read Raw results, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, so like usually at the very least, Bill and I will check out what Punk's up to, or if there's any matches that pique my interest. And I did not get to it. I was a little disappointed to see that they're building to Roxanne joining the Judgment Day. That's a thing.
What I think is going to happen is Judgment Day's going to break up, and
That's like a year past its expiration, in my opinion. That's time.
That's a horse of a different color. But
I just don't know why Roxanne needs to be involved in that. But
I think it's just a way it's to set up the Finn and Dom, because she's gonna go with Finn, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she doesn't need to be because she's great by herself. But hey, you know,
yeah,
it's a way to get her on like in a story, I guess. Since you already separated her from fucking
Yeah, they had like the 1 week team with Julia, which was weird.
Yeah, then you separated that.
Yeah, I don't think she should be in a faction or on a team, and I also think that she should be babyface again because she thrives in that role. But that's what they're doing, and it's not like WWE's always going to do stuff that maybe oppose my taste and opinions, but it is what it is. I think, have they only done like Money in the Bank stuff for the women so far? I'll take a look and I can cut out.
I want to say yes.
Oh, Solo Sikoa's in the men's one. He's the only man who's qualified.
Okay. There we go.
I don't know. I still get up for the Money in the Bank shows, man. I still get excited for them. So I don't know what Solo Sikoa is doing in there. That seems like the hell of Polar Bear doing in Arlington, Texas. Nonetheless, I will check out the tag on Saturday night's main event though, the Punk Sammy tag.
Yeah, I'm gonna tune in probably. It's this Saturday, right? I'll probably tune in Sunday morning ish.
Yeah, so I probably will too because no collision on Saturday and Dean's not airing, so like there ain't gonna be any
Might
other
tune in when I
live
get home
TV
from
wrestling.
work.
Well, if you want to, I could pull up the card and we can preview the big show on Sunday evening.
Let's dive in. Because I
Just
also got it pulled up too.
get this ready here.
There's actually a lot of matches on this card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, which I feel like they usually do between 9 and 12. They haven't been going so crazy with their cards in 2025,
Well,
which
I need them to learn a timing format.
yeah, which isn't exactly the best example because when I saw the Dynasty card, I was like, oh yeah, 8-9 matches, that's cool, and then it went 45 minutes longer than any other show they've done in like 3 years.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, if you guys can have these matches, just learn how to end it before 11:30
Yeah, especially I mean holiday
on a
weekend.
Sunday.
Holiday weekend this time they do have that room to play with, I will say. But last time around it was ridiculous, especially because like that was also I mean this is just one individual here, but like I specifically had to be up the Monday after Dynasty. I had to be up like an hour earlier than normal. So I'm thinking like, okay, cool, 11 o'clock, lights out. And then that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's
so.
my fear though, because like I got to be up for work. I still got work Monday, so.
Yeah. Well, that being said, okay, I'm on the same page as you now. We're in sync. Let's talk about Double or Nothing. This is coming from Sunday evening at the Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona. I believe that's where the Coyotes used to play, so it's a decent sized building. So I think for Anarchy, they have some opportunities to do some really cool stuff. But before we talk about that match, first listed here is Mike Bailey challenging Kazuchika Okada for the AEW Continental title. Do not see Okada losing at all, which would be Bailey's first singles loss, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because he hit the triple threat match, and that's where he took the pinfall, right? Yeah, so not first singles.
And nothing to be ashamed of there. I don't think that'll hurt him at all. This is more of getting these guys on the show. Obviously, like Okada being on limited dates, he's going to work pay-per-views. And how he's presented, I mean, Speedball taking his first singles loss to him, even though it's a bit predictable, I don't think it will hurt him at all. I'm excited to see what this looks like, though, because these are two very different wrestlers. There's a big size disparity because Okada's a pretty tall dude. And while Speedball is not what he does, it fits him. And I think it's just a really interesting clash on paper.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked for this. Because I think it's the first time they've ever wrestled.
Yeah, these two they've like not interacted at all.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Besides TV stuff. Yeah, Okada wins for sure. But I'm excited for the match. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Then next listed is the tag match that we spoke about earlier. Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness versus FTR. They are doing a contract signing angle tomorrow night, so I don't know if that'll impact things. I am just so excited to see all these guys work together.
I think Daniel Garcia is going to turn heel at some point.
Ooh, on Nigel.
Either on Nigel or Daddy. I want heel Garcia back. I love Daniel Garcia, so but I just have a feeling, I don't know. I have a weird hunch that, because the promo last week, when they were cutting it and Nigel was or was it whatever, when Nigel was apologizing to Garcia for interfering, I got a weird trope of a wrestling fan where I was just watching it and I was like, I think Garcia is going to turn just because he was boosting up Nigel to no, you can do it. And I feel like what's going to happen is Nigel's going to lose the match and then Daniel's just going to snap.
It's kind of shit can him,
yeah. But I mean, maybe not. I could be wrong, but
It wouldn't surprise me if they do turn him because of how poorly they handled his what was supposed to be a babyface push. You know,
Yeah.
like it's one of AEW's biggest ball drops in a long time, and I don't feel like it's talked about enough because no one's watching it. Like no one, like that's not a viewership thing. It's just like, but people just aren't invested in Danny, which sucks because like we all know how good he is.
Yeah, like, as a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
And it's just, he didn't, and that just falls back on like the TNT championship not having that pop anymore because unfortunately it's on Collision. Collision doesn't really do well.
yeah. And as we've lamented plenty of times on this show, they didn't book him against any heels.
Nope. It was all face versus face matches, and you can't get him over. Like,
They really messed it up, man.
His chase was better than his capture.
Yeah,
Or his run, I mean.
which isn't uncommon, unfortunately, and that's a creative issue. I don't understand why it was so difficult to have him defend against heels, though. Aside from he may have defended against Fletcher early. I will
Maybe.
fact check that match guide.
Like, but like we talked about earlier, the TNT title really has lost. Like, to me, like when Darby had it, it was Sammy even. When Sammy had it.
Darby and Joe saved that belt.
And Joe. Even, but like, and like, you had it for a while when, you had Sammy with it twice, right? And then you had Darby, Joe saved it, and that Joe and Darby feud was fucking great.
One of AEW's best ever.
Yeah, and like,
in my opinion.
What happened? Like,
he had 7 defenses. I couldn't have told you that.
He had 7 defenses?
Yes. I got my wires crossed with Briscoe because Briscoe wrestled Fletcher around the same time as this match, very early in the year. So Garcia defended successfully against Briscoe and Shibata, and then a 3-way with O'Reilly and Moriarty. That was all in January. Then he defended against Jay Lethal on the Chris Jericho cruise. I don't know if that was even taped. Then he had the no contest with Cole. And he had the time limit draw with Adam Cole. Man, this looks really bad because it looks like he couldn't beat Adam Cole in three matches in a row. Oh, man. And then, he did have the one match against Lee Moriarty, who was an out-and-out heel, and that match was actually really good.
Yeah.
But I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. It wasn't like these were all on Collision, except for the title switch, which was on pay-per-view. Yeah, they really messed that up. I still have to go back and watch those January shows, as I always bring up the channel and balancing my wrestling diet, so to speak, but almost done with that. Yeah, they just totally messed this up. So I could see him turning. I do think FTR win this regardless, though, because the one thing they've been really trying to hammer home is that Garcia and Nigel are just inexperienced as a team. Where FTR is this well-oiled machine, and now that their heels are willing to go to greater lengths to ensure the win.
And this is their first match, well, right?
Their first pay-per-view match.
Yeah, like, since turning heel, so they're not losing this one.
No. Because I think that, I mean, if what they said was true about their contract, I think that they should have one more tag team title run. So I think that they're going to start building those now. I don't think Hurt Syndicate lose for a while, but I think that you're laying the foundation here for FTR to get those belts again. I just think, though, outside of the whole narrative, just watching these 4 work together is going to be really awesome, though. Especially like Dax and Nigel on the mat.
This is going to remind me of like a good Ring of Honor match.
Yes.
From 2009, 7, 9, yeah.
This is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm always in for a Nigel match, so.
Yeah, like this is going to be sick. I'm really excited for the match itself. What'll happen after, I don't really know, but I got FTR as well.
Yeah.
Then next on the docket, Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet in a stretcher match could steal the show, quite honestly. I think it's a rule.
It's going to be entertaining for sure because it's their first stretcher match, so you know they're going to do some stupid, crazy shit. I got Ricochet though, man. He's on a tear. He's on a roll.
And unfortunately, they're not ever hesitant on making Mark Briscoe eat the loss, but I do think you got to go all in on Ricochet though here.
I will say, shout out Mark Briscoe. And shout out AEW for finally showcasing. I mean, it's sad what they took to get here, but I'm glad Mark Briscoe's finally getting some love that he deserves.
Oh yeah, he's still one of the best in the world, one of the best baby faces in the world. So when you pair that with Ricochet, it makes so much sense. I loved the TV match, as I stated prior. On paper, at least, I should like this one a lot too. And obviously, with it being a stretcher match, you can do all kinds of stuff here. So I think if they put their heads together, I think you're going to see some new levels of cheating with Ricochet and Mark Briscoe on pay-per-view, man. He's going to do something wild.
Oh, absolutely. I'm all in for that one.
Well, I could also see Briscoe winning just to kind of give Ricochet his comeuppance for all the Zach Gowen stuff, which is what led to this. But I think Ricochet is going to continue his momentum. Next is Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, the Sons of Texas, challenging the Hurt Syndicate for the AEW World Tag Team title match. I feel like I've kind of came off dismissing Sammy because, just like I said, typically I'm give or take. I've talked myself into him just bumping like crazy for the champions. I think that'll pair really nicely to whatever Dustin contributes to the match. So I am a lot more on board with this match than I was, but there is the MJF factor now.
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm with you on that one. Like, same way we were with Top Flight. We were excited because those guys are gonna bump crazy for Lashley and Benjamin. That same thing Sammy's gonna do, and then you'll have Dustin holding it down. Him and Lashley, the two bigger men. Yeah, then I got the MJF factor, so he's probably gonna end up cheating for them and Hurt Syndicate win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's where we're headed, but I'm still optimistic that until we get to that point, they could put on something good here. Dustin is such a great tag worker in general. I mean, he has been his whole career. That there's potential here. I'll say that.
My issue, like, the past couple of times they've been doing, like, squash matches, like how we talked about, like, we liked it when they had well, I didn't like it because I like the Outrunners, but they did, like, the Outrunners, like, squash match on pay-per-view, and then they did the other one. Do you think this one's going to be more of a fight, right? I would assume.
I would say that I hope so, because, again, Tony Khan booking parallels. Dustin and Sammy are on the first Double or Nothing. And, again, I don't know any of these people. I'm a fan at the end of the day. But if you're Sammy Guevara, 2 years ago you were in the world title match on the same show. And since you've kind of been relegated to Ring of Honor, you would think that the whole point of having them on the show is to kind of give both Dustin and Sammy something to do, something more substantial. And on the flip side, the Outrunners match was like a nothing burger, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't a squash. It wasn't a false hope thing for the Outrunners. It was just kind of there.
A TV match.
Yeah, it was a TV match. And then the big Bill Bryan Keith match from the next pay-per-view was essentially an angle for MJF. I think that both of these teams
need a good pay-per-view match.
Need a good showing. Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at with it.
And that's what I was thinking. That's what I wanted to get your opinion, because I was like, these two, like, I'm not against Dustin and Sammy. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm not against them because I like Dustin. I love Gold Dust. So like, it's gonna be good. I feel like it's gonna be another good tag team match, but MJF's gonna get involved. Boom.
Yeah, I look at the pieces here. Take MJF out of it for a sec. There was a match, I want to say it was in September, maybe August, but it was Dustin and Sammy. It was on Collision. They faced the Kingdom in a bunkhouse brawl match. And the way they structured that match was Sammy was doing all the crazy shit, just bumping like a freak. And then Dustin was the glue guy. He was taking the heat. He was bleeding. You know what I mean? I don't know if we'll get that in this match. Not that he's afraid to by any means. But that really made me kind of turn the corner with this team because I'm like, oh, like you have Dustin hold it down. Tag wrestling in general, you can get around wrestlers' flaws just with the nature of tagging in and out, right? And I keep talking myself more and more into this match when I frame it like that. But there is the unfortunate circumstance that MJF's probably just gonna screw him. So
yeah,
I just hope that they give these guys something to chew on, some real substance before we get to that point. But I think we're both on the same page here that those belts ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, they're staying there for a minute.
Speaking of belts that aren't going anywhere, Mina Shirakawa, her first pay-per-view match as a contracted AEW wrestler. She's made appearances before when she was with Stardom, but Mina Shirakawa is challenging Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Title match. This being a rematch from Forbidden Door last year, which I like that match, actually. And I just don't see them doing a switch because I think Toni Storm is crucial to be the champion walking into the stadium.
Absolutely. Especially to fight the winner of the next match.
Yeah, let's stay on this for just a moment, not as long as a tag match. And I'm not going to try to talk in circles about all the different pieces. But there is one piece hanging over this match. Do you think Mariah May's coming back?
See, that's what I think too. It's all signs point to yes, right? Because the two ladies involved, and Toni Storm's been saying she wants competition, right? And who's gave her the best fight?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think they revisit that because I think how they ended it, like that has to be how you end it.
Yeah, true.
But you could easily splinter this off into a Mina Mariah feud because they only had the one match last year, and I didn't for what that match should have been. It was like a TV main event that just kind of like Mariah beat Mina, and then Mina just went home. So now that they're in the same company, there's a lot more to do. As far as the speculation of Mariah leaving, I mean, she basically just posts photos with her in the AEW Women's World Title all day on social media. So, and she's been doing this for like since she's been off television.
Yeah.
So I think she's coming back. I don't know if she gets involved or if it's a post-match thing, but I think we're heading towards Mina and Mariah having a fitting blow-off, maybe that we didn't get last year. But I think Toni does need to walk into All In as a champ. I think, because we can get into the next match, which is Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter in the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament Final. And just at a glance, I mean, Mercedes Toni, that's the biggest match you could run in AEW for the women. And then Jamie Hayter obviously has all the history with getting injured against Toni 2 years ago at the show. Coming back at All In last year. And those are parallels that Tony Khan likes to make. Where do you see this going?
See, I'm so torn, like 50-50, but I got Mercedes. It's the biggest match on paper for the women, Toni versus Mercedes. My only issue is the title. I guess you have both belts on Mercedes, or do you see? It's hard. This one's actually hard. Like both. Well, not really. Like both of the finals are actually hard to pick a solid 100% winner if you think about it.
I'm gonna take a swing here.
Let me hear yours.
Jamie Hayter's winning. I think with how Tony Khan is booked in the past, with these callbacks and these recurring themes, these trends, if you will. With everything that's happened, and you make Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter the match, that frees up Mercedes for another match. And they've only been doing like, well, they actually did 2 women's matches on All In last year, so I stand corrected. But I think if Mercedes didn't lose the New Japan Strong belt and she was still doing the belt collector thing, I think I would have swayed towards Mercedes. But I think that you're going to get Jamie Hayter Toni, and I think you're going to get Mercedes Athena again. I really do. This is just gut feeling and almost wish fulfillment as far as getting more Mercedes and Athena because of how great the first match was, and I still think there's so much more there that they could do. So I'm going to take a wild swing here. I'm going to say Jamie Hayter, and I also think that if she does go to Globe Life and she wins the belt, then she can walk into Forbidden Door to her home country as world champion.
That makes sense. And I also should have thought about the fact that you're probably going to want like you said, a TBS championship match on one of your biggest shows of the year.
Yeah, and if it's not Athena, like you could do all kinds of stuff, but like Athena was there when they announced the show. Like I think she will be a part of that weekend, whether it's Ring of Honor, whether it is a stadium show. But I really think that's what they're gonna do. But I also will just add on to all that, my little diatribe there. I mean, if it is Mercedes, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm cool with either outcome, quite frankly.
My only concern with Mercedes doing it, so you'd have Mercedes versus Toni, right?
Mm-hmm.
Champion versus champion. And then if mine and yours assumption, you're doing Okada versus Omega, champion versus champion, I don't think AEW would do that twice on the same, you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Because I was just thinking about that too. If they're going to run Okada and Omega at the stadium if you're going to unify that belt, I don't think you're going to do another champion versus champion match. Not necessarily saying you'll unify it, but I just don't see them doing 2 champion versus champion matches on the same card. And plus, you would want, probably, like I said, Monet, you would want a TBS champion on your All-In show.
Yeah, and you also have like 8 weeks to play with.
Yeah, so you have any nothing's out of the realm of possibility. So.
No, especially since the precedent was set that she's not invincible anymore. She didn't get pinned to lose the strong belt, but the fact that she did lose it, you never know. Like anything can happen. I'm just going with my gut. I'm taking Jamie here. I could easily see it going the other way though.
I'm also going Jamie now that I thought about it with the whole champion versus champion thing.
I'll also just say this before we move on. If you think back to where Jamie Hayter was before the injury, like she was going to be their ace,
yep.
You know, and she was putting in great work consistently. She's one of their best world champions. I think you could argue she was their best world champion, and she just hasn't gotten back there yet. And what better way to heat her up again than by handing Mercedes her first loss?
Yeah, and I can see it, especially when she hits that haterade.
Yeah, and Mercedes is going to be there by that point for like 15 months and hasn't been pinned. So I think now's a good time to do it and move into getting back to Jamie Hayter, the full version of Jamie Hayter, where we've wanted her to be since coming back. So either way though, I'm really looking forward to the match. I could easily see it go either way. But if you're good to move on to the next match, I am too.
Let's do it.
Now, this is listed as the following because, like we talked about earlier, there's the caveat of Gabe Kidd. But this is listed as Katsuyori Shibata, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Samoa Joe with Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland and Willow Nightingale versus the Death Riders represented by Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, Marina Shafir, and Wheeler Yuta, along with the Young Bucks and Anarchy in the Arena. But Gabe Kidd's still there. It would imply that this would be 7 on 7 rather than 6 on 6, excuse me. Yeah, 6 on 6 would be 7 on 7. Who that seventh would be, obviously, I would hope it'd be Eddie Kingston, given that it's been over a year since he's been on AEW TV. And he's got a bone to pick with a lot of these guys. Especially Gabe Kidd and Claudio. And he didn't really get to be around for the Death Rider stuff. I think he did a pre-tape where he was saying how disappointed he was. And he did the pre-tape to hype up Bryan before the match. Before the world title match, excuse me. But Eddie coming back would add such a different dynamic to things, and he obviously has done great things in this environment. I don't really know where this goes, though. What do you think?
I honestly have zero idea, because I'm still confused as to why the Young Bucks, well, like we talked about, we're over asking why they're here now. But the Gabe Kidd situation still got me in a loop. I got Team AEW. I mean,
I tend to lean that way as well.
You know, I don't see the Death Riders or I don't. I just got Team AEW winning this one because especially if you're gonna bring someone back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think the idea here, it began with when they lost the trios belts. It's that first crack in the armor. Things for the Death Riders are finally starting to unravel, right?
Yeah.
So I could see the babyfaces winning because I'm starting to think that Mox won't lose at the stadium, even if he should. So I think you give the babyfaces the win here. But if it isn't main eventing, you don't have to go out on a high. You could have them win.
Yeah, I mean, that's right.
Why the Bucks are here, you kind of have to do the whole Charlie Day thing with the blood spatter ropes.
There is no Pepe Silva.
Because they're here because they have the feud with Kenny that they never really blew off. More importantly, this is to set up Swerve and Hangman versus the Bucks.
Yeah, it all comes down to that. But why is Gabe Kidd here?
I'm just going to take a swing off my bold prediction, if you will. Yeah, I think Eddie's coming back.
Yeah. Now that you brought it up earlier, now that's all I can think about. So, yeah. So, my first assumption was Darby. But my man's climbing down a mountain right now. Yeah, I say, oh man, it's either Darby or Kingston. Those are my two. I have nobody else that would come out and help them. So,
can you just imagine though that Death Riders are getting like a heat segment in the middle of this match? It's looking like things are going to be over, and then you just hear the world's cold.
Yeah, no.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be running through a wall, dude.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Depending on what time this match comes on, if I hear that, I'm gonna try to wake up my child, but I'm gonna go nuts.
Dude, I don't care if it's on this show or in 6 months. I don't care when. When I hear that music and I see Eddie marching down to the ring for the first time in a year, dude, my blood's gonna be boiling. I'm they need him for this, big blow off. And wishful thinking again. I hope that's what it's going to be. But if you just look at the names and the minds in this match, forget the writing for a second. This should be a blast.
If the main event wasn't the main event, and this was the main event, I'd be okay with it because this is gonna be awesome.
This should be sweet because you have Claudio and Hobbs for power spots. Joe and Moxley are starting to do this thing where you can't keep them away from each other. I loved in the tag match when like Joe came in real quick to break up the pin and threw the finger up, like just that real shitty, stubborn, like old, like surly, like yo, like we're just gonna beat the hell out of each other energy, and that idea that they can't keep away from each other. Now there's going to be nothing between them. There's going to be blood. There's going to be, I mean, depending on the Arizona State Commission, all that. But
Willow and Marina going to take a nasty table bump.
Willow's probably going to blade if they allow her. Like, Willow's going to do something crazy.
Willow going through a barbed wire table. She might go through the barbed wire trampoline.
Like, I mean, Swerve's a deathmatch guy. He's not afraid to do anything. Kenny's mind for wrestling is just wild. Like, and the Bucks, when given the opportunity, they can thrive in these wild matches. I mean, think about the Sting match. Like, this has potential. I don't know if it'll be as good as the first one because that was just like lightning in a bottle style magic. But this has potential to be great. And at the very least, it should just be a hell of a lot of fun. So I am looking forward to this one.
And then you have the wild card of Shibata.
Total fish out of water. Yeah, he was getting his reps in tonight with the kendo stick on the trash can stuff.
It kind of reminds me of when they threw Ibushi in Blood and Guts.
I'm surprised he didn't jump off of anything in that. But like, I mean, Ibushi's kind of. Yeah, I don't know where his health is at.
Sidebar: I just seen a video of him online. He's lost weight and he looks in great shape.
You know, good for him. I know he's been working in Glate every now and then, but I have not been watching it. I
just literally was on TikTok and seen a video, or no, it was Twitter. I'm sorry, or X. It was he lost like 86 pounds or something, and like he was doing like a bunch of cardio, or he doing like a bunch of backflips and stuff.
So he's probably looking like junior heavyweight Ibushi again.
Yeah, he's trying to get back.
Well, I just hope, you always got to hope these guys are doing well after all they've been through, which, I mean, the year he started his year last year with wrestling with one broken ankle and breaking the other one in the same match, so.
Yeah, then they got shamed when he came to AEW.
Yeah, it wasn't very good, but main event now confirmed to be the main event. Men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament final match. Adam Page taking on Will Ospreay, which what they've done tonight is that basically, without sitting through a 16-minute promo, is that both of these men are walking in as if they absolutely need to win this match. That despite their alignments, despite, because like they're billing it as Ascension versus Redemption, with like Hangman needs to get back to fully bury the hatchet with the last couple of years he's had. Ospreay needs us to finally take that next step to be world champion, to be the face of the company. It is a very compelling match from a character standpoint, and just from a match point of view, these two are going to go crazy. Like, we know this.
I like what Ospreay said in the promo tonight too, was, I don't know how to beat Mox, but you do, so bring that guy on Sunday. So in a sense, it was because if he can beat that guy that could beat Mox, he can beat Mox, And,
yeah, like all that worked for him.
Yeah, and if it's that, not to double back on Dynamite, but that promo started off slow, but in the end, it built up. Me and you have been day one of this podcast say this is the match that we should have main evented, and we're waiting. We're here.
Yeah, this is a huge match, man. Like for AEW in particular, this is a massive match. I think it finally has cemented these tournament finals, because like the Owen final has been on. I think they've been on Double or Nothing. It was on TV last year. But what I will say about last year's final, obviously different circumstances, not to compare them. That was one of my favorite AEW matches ever. Danielson and Hangman.
Yeah.
I know Hangman can do that. He proved it. I mean, granted, he was working heel in that match. I don't think he will here, because I mean, that's kind of, we're beyond that. I think this is going to be a big heat check for me personally with Will Ospreay, because there's a difference in being the athlete that he is. I need him to prove to me that, like, to give that same emotion, that he needs to win this match. I want to believe in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they both have to come out with the same fight to win attitude. And I feel like, well, they're going to do whatever it takes to win. And we both know that these two could do crazy shit. And it's going to go. I'm stoked, man. This whole card, though, I'm looking at this card. I'm like, there's not really like one bad match.
I'm not looking at my liquor store run match here.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
seeing it.
I was like, I see maybe one. I could take a quick pee break and then hurry up, come back. But yeah, this main event, though, like this is an AEW main event that I'm stoked for.
Yeah, this could be a world title match on any other card. But what I like that it's not, because despite how much I liked last year's Owen final, and despite how much I've liked the Continental Classic finals, like I liked Ospreay Okada last year, and I liked Eddie Moxley the year before. You know, AEW they so badly want that G1 final feeling. I think this is the closest that they've gotten to it. Now they just need to stick the landing.
And I feel like they're gonna. It's gonna be, like I said, as long as it's not dragged out. Don't drag it out. You know, pace it good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going at least 25, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Again, I'm never just trying to come on here and like just to dismiss stuff, but they got me hooked now. I'm buying in. I'm gonna be hopeful for this one. I just want to I want to see what the energy that they were conveying tonight. I want to see them convey that when the bell rings. I don't want it to be like I don't want that dissonance. I don't want them just doing shit for the sake of doing shit. Like, I want everything to matter, because the way that they're coming across in this go home was that this match means everything to them. So just translate that. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I'm with you, man. I'm excited for the show.
I'm pumped. I pray it doesn't go till midnight.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if there's any before we sign off here, I'll just take a look, because I remember 2022 they went extra long to go against the Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah.
In basketball. Sunday,
Pacers.
Yeah, Knicks Pacers. I mean, you see they put Halliburton in the WWE game, by the way?
Yeah, I've seen that. It was really
That's
weird.
pretty awesome. I thought it was funny.
I got excited because they were like, they said they had an announcement at Halliburton, and I was like, yo, he plays for the Pacers. They're going to announce that fucking WrestleMania is going to be like in Indianapolis. And then they announced that, and I was like, I mean, it's cool, but not as cool as what I had in my head.
We say as people who live in Indiana, but like not Indianapolis. We're getting Mania. I just don't know what year. Maybe next year or 2 years from now.
And I'm not even worried about going to Mania. I don't care about, because like I know it's going to be expensive. I'm excited for the collective. Bring me.
Yeah, I feel like if Mania's in driving distance, I want to do it all, ideally. Because, I mean, that's like bucket list, like you dream of that since you're a kid type stuff.
That's what I said. I made it happen when I went to Florida. But, like, I've seen ticket prices now, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I could pull that.
Yeah, man. I kind of have an idea of where I like to sit after going to the Rumble. But I'm going to use that as my, if I do make it to Mania, I'm going to use that as my heat check, because I had a good time despite the booking. But I just don't know if, like, watching wrestling in a stadium is for me.
Yeah, I'm a small venue guy.
Just because of stuff that we look for in matches, right? Now, a Rumble's different. You're not going to get intricate, work in a Rumble. It's a Royal Rumble. But, like, and it worked for where I was at and my sight lines and all that. And I wasn't too high up, but you're so far away.
Yeah.
Like just in proximity. But, so I need to figure that out when the time comes. I do want to do it once in my life, though. I think that the game's going to change, so to speak, with what AEW's been doing, with what they're trying to do with All In weekend now, like putting Supercard there doing Dean. Dean. They're not doing Dean that weekend. They're just spreading it out. But I think AEW, if the idea is to be the alternative, they want to have their own like big blowout weekend where they do all the big stuff and have indie promotions follow them. So you might see a bit of a divide, but I'm cool with that because I mean, how many shows do you miss on Mania weekend? You know what I mean? Because there's so much.
There's so much going on. Like me, like for me, it's just like I know if it's still going on around, then I want to do spring break because that's one of my favorite collective shows and Bloodsport. You know.
Yeah. I mean, even being around for the clusterfuck would probably be a great time.
Like me and my buddies already talked about it. We're like, yo, we'll plan it. Like when it happens, we'll get a Airbnb and just chill there for a weekend, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean that'd be a lot of fun to do, and then like I just love being an indie, anyways. Like
that's what I said when I was down there this past weekend. I was like, yeah, I like it down here.
Yeah, it's really cool because it's like there's a lot to do, but it's not too big, and yeah, like I really like it down there. But we'll get there when we get there. We got to get through 2 years first at least, but keep it locked here. We hope if you got this far into the show, we hope you enjoyed it. And we hope you enjoyed Double or Nothing this weekend. Again, I apologize for hyping up a lot of stuff that you're not going to be able to see or just outright not happening last week, but you got the big show on Sunday. So hope you all enjoy your holiday weekend and keep it locked here. We'll be back next week with a review of the big show as well as a resulting TV as we always do. You can find us on socials at Outer Stevon and The Loserweight. Chris, do you have anything else?
I want to give a shout out to my Bino boys. We just came back from Indianapolis. One of my boys took 8th place. He made out of a 64 tournament. He made the Elite 8. So
that's huge. Yeah.
So hey, shout out! Next year we're taking that ring. So we coming for that.
Bino seems cool as hell. I gotta tap in at some point, but good for you guys. I'm glad you had a good weekend, and hope this weekend's cool too. Hope the show sticks the landing, but we'll find out, and we'll be here to talk about all of it next week. So until then, talk to you again next time.
See ya.